In this video, I'll be explaining my Criminal Justice 260 final game. These are the rules. This was created by Katia, Nicole, and Lundell and narrated by the same. That would be me. Overview. Warning, this game was not designed to be 100% fair, rather to guide ideas and gather insight. The objective is to get through the stages as quickly as possible, facing the issues that your specific character poses. The goal is to understand all the components that go into sustaining a society and its side effects. This game is meant for 4 to 6 players, ages 17 and above. There are 4 main stages. Please clear a table at least twice the size of the game board to play on efficiently. You will need to make puzzles and arrange cards in sequences throughout the game. Here's a list of all the items that you'll find inside the game box, and I'm going to explain to you how to set it up. First, put the black box with the 12 puzzle pieces in it on top of the black patch that says Race Trivia Cards. Here are the Race Trivia Cards patch, and right here is the black box with the puzzle pieces in it, and that just goes right there. Step 2. Place the 6 green character cards face down on top of the green character cards patch. Here's the green character card patch, and here are the green character cards and the characters that they'll represent later on in the game, and then they just go right there. Step 3. Place the action cards on top of the white and gold action card patch. Over here is the white and gold action card patch, and here are the white cards with gold stars on them, and then they'll just go right over there. Step 4. Place the mini building cards on the yellow patch right next to the action cards patch. Well, there's the yellow patch right next to the action cards that we just put down, but if you look over here, the building cards have 4 different types: livelihood, which is orange, social relationships, which is teal, dignity, which is blue, and shelter, which is pink. Over here is an example of each of those cards, and then we'll just take them and put them right over here. Step 5. Place the mini education loop cards on the white patch in the middle of the education loop in the top right corner. Here's the education loop and the white patch designated for the cards. And here are the education loop cards, and they'll just go right there. Step 6. Place the healthcare cards on top of the green patch next to the end. Well, right here is the green patch next to the end, but if you look over here on the setup like we did for the building blocks, there are 6 types of healthcare cards: social, pink; spiritual, which is magenta; physical, which is purple; mental, which is blue; and emotional, which is orange; and environmental, which is green. Here's an example of each one of those cards, and then we're just going to take those cards and put them right over here. Now that we've successfully set up the game, I can start showing you how to play. The first step is that all players are going to roll the dice and subtract the smaller number that they get from the larger one. Whoever's result is the highest will go first. Here's an example. I got a 3 and a 1, so my answer would be 2, and the next person would go and they got a 2 and a 2, which is 0. So I'd go first and they would go second. All players can now pick a pawn to use as their stand-in piece during phase 1 before we get assigned our official characters. So here's my stand-in piece. It's a yellow pawn. Just put it on start. And then step 3, you can continue to use the dice strategy from before as you proceed through the first phase, which is components of race. This phase is a collaborative one. So when it's your turn to roll the dice, move however many spaces your result is, and you will always take a puzzle piece when your turn is over. So mine was a 1, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to move 1 space and take a puzzle piece and put it over here on the ground. So you keep doing the puzzle and going through phase 1 until all the puzzle pieces had come out of the box, and you set up the puzzle, and it's a diagram. I'm not going to show you now because it'll ruin the game when you play it, but that's the idea of phase 1. So the goal is to get all 12 pieces of the puzzle. If you arrive at the end of the stage before the puzzle is complete or before the rest of the players, please wait until all players are done and the puzzle is complete, and you can examine it as a group. The first player will now pick their character, so they'll pick 2 cards from the 6 and choose 1, and then pick a Playmobil figure as the same gender as your character. So I'm going to pick 2 of these, and then I got Bobby and Sam. So each player has 6 components. They all average out to the same average, 38 out of 60. And I'm going to pick Sam. So I put Bobby back, and I'll pick Sam. And Sam can be either a boy or a girl. So this is going to be my Playmobil character. So the rest of the players will do the same, and the last person may get stuck with whichever character is left, but like I said before, all players' characteristics add up to an average of 38 out of a possible 6 characteristics, each one out of 10. So then we'll proceed into the second stage of the game, Elements of an Ideal Society. In this phase there are 4 components you must lead with: wood, brick, grass, and clouds, 1 for each player. You will acquire each of these components by landing on the black dots in each color. Orange represents livelihood, pink shelter, blue dignity, and green social relationships. And in each one, you'll get a different component to make your ideal society. Let's say I rolled a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I landed on a green and a black dot, so that means I would pick a social relationships card from the building blocks pile. That's what I'm going to do. And then here it says social relationships. You've strengthened your family ties, and I get grass for that. So I'd put the card back, and I'd go over here for the building blocks, and I'd take grass. And then you're going to need to get all of them eventually. There are bricks and wood and clouds in there. And to finish the phase, you're going to need all 4. You'll notice that there are gold stars throughout the rest of the game. These stars mean that you can pick a card from the action pile. Each action card poses a scenario people face in daily life, and based on various characteristics of the character you pick, you'll be moved forward or backwards around the board. Please remember to put the action cards back when you're done. At the end of the Elements of an Ideal Society stage, there is a stop sign. If you don't have one of each building block, then you go back to the start. You cannot proceed to the education until you do so. Let's say I rolled a 1 now, and I landed on this green action card over here. I come over here and pick an action card, and this one says, "You've gotten a job offer. This job requires mobility. If your ability score is less than or equal to 5, please go back 2 spaces. If it is more, please advance 1 space." So now I come over to my Playmobil character's card, and I look at her ability, and it says her ability is 6. So because it's bigger than 5, the card told me to move 1 forward, so I just moved to the next space, and that's the end of my turn. At the end of the Elements of an Ideal Society stage, there is a stop sign. If you don't have one of each building block, then you go back to the start. You cannot proceed to the education until you do so. Once you've completed the Elements of an Ideal Society stage, you will go on into the Education Loop stage. In this stage, you're trying to complete the loop of education, 9 cards with the Education Loop mini cards. Some of the stages repeat to make it slightly easier. At this point, you should check your education and work history of your character. If they do not add up to more than 14, you must take the education loop 1 space at a time. If they do, then just keep rolling the dice like you have for the whole game. So now I'm going to come back to my character's identity card, and I'm going to look at her education and work history, and it's an 8 and a 5, so that adds up to 13. And the rule is if it's less than 14, so I'm going to have to take the education loop 1 space at a time rather than rolling the dice normally. So these are all the education loop cards, and they'll just go in like a circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, leading and like cause and reaction of different things about education. And I'm not going to turn them over so you don't see them yet, but this is the whole idea. Once you've completed the education loop as a group, examine it and understand the ideas. You will now continue into the final stage of the game, Components of Healthcare. There are 6 parts to this stage: physical, purple; mental, blue; emotional, orange; environmental, green; social, hot pink; spiritual, magenta. So the idea of this part is that each of these parts have 4 cards assigned to them. When you stop on a black dot, take a card from the part color you are currently in and do what it says. So let's say I roll a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm on a black dot in the green, which means emotional, or environmental, in fact. And here's an environmental card right on top here, so I'm just going to take it and read what it says. It says, "There's been a shooting in your neighborhood. Please go back 2 spaces." I'll just put the card back and put it at the bottom and go 1, 2, back into the orange. And once you get through the last 6 stages of the Components of Healthcare, you'll eventually come here and get to the end and have completed all 4 phases of criminal justice in our community. 260, final game by Katia Lundell. Acknowledgements. All of the content in Criminal Justice in Our Society 260 Game Final by Lundell Incorporated was information that I have learned over this past winter term at Drexel University. I gathered this information from various assigned readings for the class and notes that I've taken. The most specific ideas that I referenced are: the first stage of the game, Components of Race, was inspired by a spotlight session I participated in one of my later weeks at LIFT Philadelphia. This spotlight was an eye-opener for me, and I thought it would be something good to share. The second stage of the game was an altered diagram from a reading from week 6, chapter 6 of THC, and that was the Elements of an Ideal Society part. This game was 100% created by me. My raw materials were the following, and it turned into this. Thank you for your time, and enjoy.